What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Wes back with another video, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about UFC 260, which is on tonight, mainly the main event between UFC heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic and number one contender Franscis Ngannou. Now, I'm not really going to go into like analysis of the fight or predictions or anything like that. I want to talk about what I feel is more sort of interesting subject. Basically, what a win could mean for both fighters. Now, DC and Helwani kind of touched on this a little bit with Franscis Ngannou on their ESPN show on Monday, I believe. Now, basically, what's going on here is it's a rematch between the two. Stipe, won their first fight very convincingly. He's was the first person to beat Franscis Ngannou in MMA, I believe. Won the UFC, gave him his first loss. Francis was on a tear. He was knocking out people left and right, making some of the most vicious highlights in the history of the business. And the situation is pretty much the same here. Also going into that fight, Stipe was the most defendingest UFC heavyweight champion at the time. He still holds that record. He had a trilogy with DC recently, was able to win 2 out of 3 of those, regain his championship back. And we're back in the same situation. Stipe Miocic is pretty much considered the best heavyweight of all time. Franscis Ngannou, he's a highlight reel. He's been on a huge tear his past 4 fights. All of them have been only a total of 2 minutes and like 40 seconds, which is insane. He's been getting first round knockouts and just making even more highlights than he has than when he first entered, the octagon. So, like I said, DC and Helwani kind of touched on this in their show on Monday. DC was talking about, for Francis mainly, how if he wins, he could become like a global superstar, not just for the UFC, but just period. If you see Franscis Ngannou, he's like, one of those huge, big, just swole fighters. A lot of muscles, huge. He just looks like a straight beast out there, and his fighting, goes with the look. Like, it's kind of like Mike Tyson back in the day, how he looked like a menace, and then when he got in the ring, he showed it. And Franscis Ngannou is kind of in that same tier. He's, not his accomplishments, obviously, but just like making highlights. I mean, if you look up Franscis Ngannou knockout highlights, if you haven't already, like a compilation or something, this guy is like literally lifting people off the ground with his punches. And if he were to become the heavyweight champion, beat Stipe in a rematch, who, like I said, he's probably the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, and cement himself as that new global superstar phenomenon. Not only would this be huge for the UFC, but for Franscis Ngannou, he would just become a huge mega star. He'd be easy to build. He'd be easy to promote. Like, it would be insane. And honestly, it's probably what the UFC is hoping for. They never say what they are hoping for, but you can see it when the way they push guys, the way they push Francis the first time. It's crazy. But yeah, if Francis were to win this fight, he would definitely become a quick icon, because UFC would promote the heck out of him, with his highlights and everything, and his build, his physique, and just the way he ends fights. It would be quite insane. Now, on the flip side, Stipe Miocic, who is a star in the UFC, he's not the big global, icon as he should probably be due to his accomplishments. But yeah, like, speaking of those, like, Stipe, like I said earlier, he has the record for most heavyweight, championship defenses. He holds so many records in the, most strikes in the UFC heavyweight history or something like that. And I think if he wins this fight, he'll have the most heavyweight championship wins, or just fights in general or something like that. But the bottom line is, he's in the history books as far as records go. There you go. He just came off a trilogy with DC, Daniel Cormier, who other people thought was the biggest challenge to that heavyweight title of his, being the best ever. And he was able to win 2 out of the 3 in that. And what's more so is, like, he already beat Francis, right? So he has Francis on his resume. But if he were to beat him again, silence him one more time, that will only add more to his legacy, to his greatness. But it's also the fact that UFC has basically confirmed that John Bones Jones will be fighting the winner, basically, of the heavyweight title fight. Those of you who don't know, John Jones is, the former light heavyweight champion UFC. He never lost, by being defeated by KO submission, decision only by DQ. He, like I said, he vacated his title. He has the most championship wins in UFC history out of everybody. A lot of people see him as not just a light heavyweight GOAT, but just the greatest of all time in general. So if Stipe were to win this fight with Francis and able to pull off a win against John Jones, he would arguably become the greatest UFC fighter of all time. At least in my opinion. I think the winner, I already think John Jones is the greatest right now, but if him and Stipe were to fight, I think that fight would ultimately decide who the greatest to ever do it was. I mean, Stipe has beaten Francis twice, Daniel Cormier twice. He's got pretty much all his important wins back, like against Junior Dos Santos, one of his first few title defenses. He had the most title defenses in UFC heavyweight history by a large margin. That's the hardest division to hold the championship, I believe, next to maybe the UFC women's strawweight division. I think only 2 women in it. No, there's been more title defenses there, but yeah, UFC that's one of the hardest. That's basically, yeah, that is the hardest title to defend in all of UFC. So if Stipe were to do that against the best competition that the UFC heavyweight division has probably had of all time, plus with John Jones moving up to challenge him after DC already did, and him able to beat both of those guys, plus Francis, like I said, it would probably cement Stipe as the best fighter in UFC history. But yeah, guys, that was my video. Let me know who you think may win the fight tonight. Let me know what you think of my analysis, what you think of Francis becoming a huge megastar beyond the UFC through all sports around the world. If you think, judging by what he's done, if he'd be known even more than what he is. Let me know if Stipe winning against Francis and then possibly beating John Jones after, if that makes him the UFC greatest of all time, or if, who do you feel is the best to ever step in the octagon, or if you're new to the sport, who do you like to fight? Let me know in the comments below, guys, and don't forget, if you like the video, make sure to hit a like, make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell icon that YouTube has so you get the notifications for your boy's video. Appreciate you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the pay-per-view tonight, and yeah, have a good one.